Hong Kong, a city renowned for its towering skyscrapers, is undergoing a housing crisis due to its high population density and limited land availability. The scarcity of affordable housing has pushed the people of Hong Kong to inhumane conditions, living within subdivided units that are hidden within old residential buildings. Infamously named coffin homes because of their resemblance to the dimensions of a coffin, they are makeshift and unregulated spaces that houses people with limited financial means. In the most extreme cases, coffin homes are approximately 15 square feet, the size of a twin-sized bed. A space like this has a monthly rent of 400 Canadian dollars. Shared facilities are pushed to their absolute limits, with a washroom and a kitchen designed to cater to one family shoved into the same space for 24 people. Before coffin homes, we had cage homes. Cage homes have been around since the 1950s and 1960s, when the population was growing due to the immigration of Chinese workers. Living in cages stacked on top of each other resembled livestock coops, which led the government to ban this type of housing.
For this kind of material, making a cage home is very few of this kind. Many of them, they are eating the wood and cannot see inside, and because they want more privacy. But the ventilation is even poorer, and the rent would be more expensive.
Informal housing units come in the form of rooftop slums, subdivided units that house families, and the most extreme case of subdivision, coffin homes. However, the government has only actively cracked down on rooftop slums because they are slums that are highly more visible to the public than the hidden subdivided units within buildings. My case study is of a corner building on Guilin Street in Sam Shui Po, a district known for its old residential buildings. The most extreme case of subdivision in the building is that one floor that originally had 2 bed spaces was subdivided to have 48 bed spaces. One block was designed to house approximately 1,500 people, but in reality, the informal settlements created within these buildings afterwards could easily cram in 6,000 people, 4 times more people than what these spaces were designed for. Slums are just how a city copes with lack of space and unaffordability. A city cannot exist without slums. The term informality has a negative connotation and is based on the institutional belief that self-built bodies do not have a form. Currently, informality in architecture does not tell us what it is describing. It only tells us what it is not. There is this common perception that the lack of skills or resources is the primary barrier to transforming their spaces into more dignified ones. Instead, we need to figure out a more inclusive way to urban planning, one that respects the autonomy and unique identity of informal communities. I got in touch with a resident that is currently waiting for government-subsidized housing, living in one of these 15 square feet coffin homes.
我個名咧叫蔡文健，咁其實咧我喺香港咧就佐敦咧住緊間劏房嘅，我呢度咧係冇乜陽光㗎，咁因為空間細啦，咁基本上咧我有個好細嘅窗，但係咧我唔會開，其實我掛晒啲衫喺度㗎，咁因為譬如我洗完衫咧冇地方晾咧，我掛晒喺全屋嗰度，咁成間屋咧都係遮晒嗰個窗㗎，嗰啲物品都，因為我煮飯咧其實都係唔可以炒嘢㗎，我一定要係淨係煲嘢，等啲味唔係好犀利，因為咧如果呢啲炒嘢啲味好勁咧，就好多人都聞到嘅。咁所以咧，我而家咧住喺呢個情況咧，嗰個陽光同埋嗰個空氣流通嗰個問題咧係好嚴重嘅。
I also got to speak with Tracy, a social worker from the NGO SOCO, which is the Society for Community Organization that helps move these residents into better transitional housing.
If you want to know about the living environment, I think the hygiene problem, lack of ventilation in the flats, and also the kids, if there were kids in the family, because the light is not really, the light can't really get in for a lot of subdivided units. So the children, they don't have a lot of lights when they are doing their homework. So that affects their health also. In a lot of them, there won't be a window inside the flats, and there might not even be a ventilation fan inside the flat, so it could be very stuffy. So I know some of the people living in this SDU, they might not choose to stay for a long time inside the flats. They are going out to the parks, and they will spend the whole day going out, so to not stay in the flats and be limited by the space and the poor living environment. There won't be so much of a public space because the SDUs are mostly inside the old buildings and the old district in Hong Kong, and these are pretty urbanized district, and you don't get to have a lot of parks or open space there. So the district per se limited their area for common recreational activities. I think for a lot of SDU, they have the rooftop. Yes, and some kids, sometimes they would run up to the rooftop to play with each other, and I think that's one place where they can gather. And then also because inside the SDU, they don't have a place to dry their clothes. Some families would choose to dry their clothes at the rooftop, and that also make them see each other and talk to each other in the rooftop. So that's a space where they could gather.
咁大型嘅籠屋的確係少過以前嘅，我哋就覺得其實應該係冇籠屋嘅，因為床位環境太惡劣嘅。咁但係就一直都未做到啦，因為個房屋供應唔夠。如果你話封咗佢咁啲人唔知住邊啊？
即係呢個政府講咗好多年啦，話要取締劏房都未實施過任何措施嘅，永遠都係咁多劏房係咪？
Weak informal housing in Hong Kong is a result of the lack of space. Even with living conditions as small as a coffin, residents ingeniously use what they have to deal with the specific problems that come with their living space. Adaptive reuse is the best candidate for possibilities that can come out of informality.